Hey guys, this is Jaden. Today we're talking about Volume 8, Season 3 of RWBY, episode Strings. And yeah, we're really getting into it today because this was such a different episode than what I was expecting this to be. It was very, a heist episode in its essence, which is the way it was storyboarded. And we really got to see Team RWBY work because since the split, we have RWBY, we have Nora, we have Penny, we have Weiss, we have Blake. They're all essentially trying to get Amity up and running so that, they can actually warn the world about Salem's plan and really protect it from that. Essentially, when they were getting on, Weiss from last week essentially survived her killing, or essentially how she died when she got sent up the trash chute, and it was pretty wild. And they're right in Atlas, and Penny is basically the directions. This is a very Penny-focused episode because she really is the person with the strings. Essentially, Penny basically breaks them into Atlas, and they have somebody who's cloaking them most of the time. It was very comedy-oriented. There was a lot of funny parts from just them finding unique ways to really get into Atlas and to get exactly where they need to go, from the great distraction of just tripping one guy with coffee and spilling it over everywhere, to even the fact that Penny had basically learned and studied RWBY's semblance so much that she was able to pick up on how RWBY's semblance has had to, how it actually works. Which I will say is pretty odd because essentially I don't think RWBY has had the time of day to really study her own semblance. I think this would have been something that they really would have been taught, if they were in Beacon, and to really have that conversation. But RWBY hasn't really had time to do that. So it kind of sucks in that end. But it was pretty cool just to see Penny really break everything down. That her semblance is essentially just breaking down into molecules, and she can carry other people by breaking them down and just moving at a super fast speed. Meanwhile, Ironwood is having Watts find a way to really break into Penny and find a way to shut her down to get the power of the Winter Maiden, because their ultimate goal is to take the staff and try and protect it, which, if you really think about it, it's kind of convoluted. The ultimate goal would literally be to move Penny, the only person who can open up the gate, so far out of Salem's reach that she could not get the next relic. But Ironwood seems to be for lack of a better word, his head is so far up his ass he doesn't, see left or right. So essentially, the team ends up breaking into Atlas and really getting to this high, secure floor. And we have, basically the glorified Geppetto remotely take over Penny so that he can really gather all the data to launch Amity. And it was pretty interesting in its own right, to see her basically just being taken over like that. I didn't know that was even possible. And then as they were about to leave, the Aesops are there, and the Aesops are essentially like, well, we're going to get what we need. And their goal was really to take down Penny and to take the Winter Maiden. But this is really the first time we get to see Penny using her Winter Maiden power. And she's not obviously a full-blown maiden. However, she doesn't make it easy for them. And 4-on-1, but a 4-on-1 that doesn't really hurt. Early on in the episode, we did have a great conversation that was really more of the personal basis of, Blake and Weiss and Nora really worrying about, the other team with Yang and Jean and Ren and Oscar. And it was pretty interesting because, Nora really finally had to say that, hey, I really don't know myself outside of Ren. And I didn't really think of it that way, but we're really getting that character growth that we're looking for. And I feel like a lot of things that Blake was saying was kind of alluding to, how she feels about Yang. But really, Nora was kind of a big part of this episode. And the ultimate thing with her was do something that only Nora could do so you can find your own identity of who you are. Since they had been together, even as friends or orphans, basically, since they were children, you need to find your own personality, your own sense of self. And they do. Nora ends up breaking down this huge barrier that is just full of electricity. And I think it was really cool to see like two expanses of two different semblances in this episode, with honestly probably three, because if we count Penny, we have RWBY and Nora really showcasing new abilities that we didn't see from them before. Breaking through that door, Nora basically lets all of Team RWBY, the rest of them that are like basically passed out at that point, through so they can actually help protect the Aesops. But John Watts gets on the phone and is like, hey, I need you to get something for me. And he basically takes one of Penny's swords, Penny's strings. And that's pretty much the episode as Team RWBY escapes and Penny basically has to leave so that she can get on Amity and make sure that she's so far out of Salem's reach. However, it just doesn't make any sense to me that when the glorified Geppetto, notable mention here, why he didn't essentially just rebuild her without the strings. You know, when he was doing that reboot, I don't know. I just feel like Penny had been alive for long enough that you would probably come up with a second design, that you could have found a way that the strings were not a thing. And I know Penny is basically a glorified puppet. You know, she basically is a stand-in for Pinocchio. But for her strings to still exist, I don't know. It just seems like an oversight, in my opinion, towards Geppetto, especially with how his technological prowess is. It just seems so stupid of him to leave it there. But nonetheless, he does. And I'm pretty sure Watts, by the end of the season, is going to find a way to hack into Penny. And I believe that's what the introduction song was really alluding to. It was alluding to basically Watts and the glorified Geppetto. I don't know this name. I don't know his name, and I'm perfectly fine with that. They're basically going to end up fighting after control over Penny's soul, Penny's life. I don't really know whether that has to do with the fact of Salem at the moment, but I also noted that a lot of the Atlas soldiers, it seems like they don't really know what's going on. They are essentially blindly following Ironwood's his rule, everything that he has to say, his orders. And I don't know. I do know. This is not a good thing. It's just kind of sad because the only people who like Ironwood somewhat trust are essentially the inner circle for himself, which is the Aesops and Winter. But Winter is currently out of commission at the moment, and the Aesops are really just sad they lost Clover. So it's a whole situation with them. I do think the wolf guy, I don't know his name, but the wolf guy, the dog, or whatever, he essentially is probably the easiest person to probably sway over and change sides, but he's so loyal to Atlas, like a dog. He's not changing. He probably questions a lot of things and thinks that at the end of the day, he's not going to change over any of his allegiances. Hopefully, though, by the next episode, really don't know what it's going to focus on, but hopefully we really get to go back to figuring out what's going on with Oscar, who's really taking him, and all of that. It really does seem like the splitting up of the teams has kind of hindered both of them. It would have been probably more beneficial for Ruby and Yang to have an actual like conversation and really think about everything, because certain people are suited for certain missions a little bit better than others. And for the most part, it seems like they're okay with how they're suited, but they just aren't as cohesive as they should at the moment. I'm predicting that hopefully in the next episode, we're going to get into really finding out who this Super Grim is and what their duties are. I feel like somehow, some way, Team Yang is going to end up on Salem's ship. I may be wrong about this, but I'm just going to call it right now. I think they're going to end up being on Yang's ship because there's no possible way I think that they're going to be able to catch up whatsoever. And while Team RWBY essentially is going to have to join them in getting Oscar back, that is really going to be a very important factor. So that's really my episode today. Thank you so much for watching. I know it's a little bit different than normal, but I wanted to bring it to you still. I know it's a little late, but we are where we are. It's the holiday season at the moment, so if you're having a happy holiday, enjoy it. Thank you so much for watching my video. Like, comment, subscribe. If you want to have a conversation about it, just leave a comment below. Really love to talk to y'all. Until next time, bye.